Good morning, big ballers, shot callers. Big Ken here. Welcome from the Grid Room Sports Talk Show. Going solo today. Lately my best friend Monty and we've been busy, can't quite get our schedules in place. That's what you call life. But hopefully he'll be able to join me next week for the divisional round of the NFL, playoffs. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Obviously, talk about the wild card games this weekend for NFL. Couple are on today, Saturday. But we're also going to. I'm also going to do some recaps of the quarterfinal college football playoffs. There was one really good game. The Texas Arizona State game went into overtime. The rest of the games just okay. The big surprise was how much Ohio State blew out Oregon in the Rose Bowl. That was a surprise. Everyone thought that was probably gonna be the best game, and Oregon didn't show up. So I'll recap some of that, what I saw in those games, and then also some big topics in the NFL at the end of the season. Some people hit some huge landmarks. Mike Evans tied Jerry Rice's record for 11 straight seasons. 11 straight seasons with 1,000 reception yards. That's like freaking amazing. And the crazy thing about that is Mike Evans did this on the last play of the game. He got over 1,000 yards for the season on the last play of the game. So that was just insane. Um, Aaron Rodgers joins the 500 club, throwing 500 touchdown passes. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers has been very disappointing in New York Jets land for the past 2 years, but he did hit a huge, milestone to get in the 500 club with some very good quarterbacks. Thank Drew Brees, you know, Peyton Manning, these guys, Tom Brady, so he's in that club. It's kind of interesting to see what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. That'll be my question for the viewers. Do you think Aaron Rodgers should retire? What do you think he's going to do? Is he going to retire? Is he going to try to join another team? Is he going to stay at the Jets? I don't think he's going to stay at the Jets. I haven't read the headlines in the last couple of days, but I doubt he's staying with the Jets. That formula just did not work out. But anyways, those are the subjects we're going to cover. And obviously, Mayo getting fired. Head coach of New England, former player there under Belichick, gets fired after one season. Is that fair or unfair? That's another question I got for viewers. I'm leaning towards unfair, but we'll get into that later on this show. And man, I keep on thinking of things to talk about. Young Mr. Bryce Young, his last game of the season had 5 total TDs. He's had a very rocky start with Carolina Panthers, a very bad team, but I like the way he finished the season. He bounced back nicely and he went off in his last game for 5 total TDs. All right, now finally, let's get into some of the quarterfinal games. Penn State, Boise State. Penn State wins the game 31-14. They get off to a very fast start. They're up 14-0 in a blink of an eye. It looks like it's going to be a blowout. But then Boise State settles in and makes it a game for a while. Boise State Ashton Jeanty actually had 2 fumbles in the first half. One he lost. On the one he lost, Penn State was up 14-0. It's getting down towards the late in the first quarter, and they're about at midfield. Penn State's at midfield. And excuse me, I'm thinking, sure, a lot of people are thinking if Penn State goes up 21-0, this game is over. But Boise State forces a fumble themselves, and they recover the ball on two plays later. They get the ball right back. So that kind of saved the game for them for the first half. And Boise State goes down and gets a touchdown to make it 14-7. It was 24-14 late or middle of the fourth quarter. It was 24-14, and it looked like Boise State had a chance to either make a field goal or get a touchdown, make it 24-21, make it very interesting. But Boise State's kicker just had a horrible game. He missed the very first kick on the very first drive opening the game very badly. He shanked it, and then he missed a kick again late in the game to make it a one-score game. He could have made it 24-17 with Allen with how much time was left, but there's probably about I think there was about it was middle of fourth quarter. I want to say there was around 7, 6, 7, 8 minutes left, somewhere around that time frame, and he misses again. He didn't shank it. It was much closer, but it was he was it just missed the uprights, so he was off by like maybe 6 inches. So I think the first kick was just in his head, and it's like that with kickers. Sometimes they miss a kick, and it's not like every down players on offense or defense where if you make a mistake, you have a chance to bounce back very quickly and kind of get that out of your head. With kickers, it's kind of lingers because they may not go in the game for another 30, 40 minutes, an hour maybe to kick another kick, and it stays with them, and that happened with him. So, but Penn State goes down and scores a touchdown. They ice this game, and that ended up being the final score, 31-14. So Boise State did make it a game somewhat. The quarterfinal games were a little bit better than the opening round games because all the opening round games were blowouts. But this game was Boise State had their chances, put it that way. Penn State was definitely the better team, but Boise State made it a game somewhat, so give them credit for that. And they had their chances to keep it close, and their kicker just couldn't make kicks. Let's go over some stats. Ashton Jeanty, guy who was in New York he was one of the 3 Heisman finalists or 4 Heisman finalists. He got stuffed most of the game, but he did have a couple good runs. He still got over 100 yards, though, which is impressive. He had 30 carries for 104 yards. He was averaging 3.5 yards per carry. Some people might think, well, he had a bust game, but I don't think so. Everyone in the whole entire country knew Jeanty was going to get the ball, and so did Penn State, obviously. So they were stacking the box, and they were going to make Boise State try to beat them without Jeanty, And for him to still get 104 yards on 30 carries, that to me that's impressive. Some people might disagree with me, but he ran hard, man. He tried. That's why I think he fumbled the ball twice. One of them he lost because he was fighting for extra yards. I mean, he was trying to get everything he could, and um, yeah, I'm a big Jeanty fan. He didn't leave Boise State to go to other colleges for more NIL money, and I love that. He stayed loyal to Boise State because he could have went to a bigger D1 school and got a lot more money. With NIL being in place the past 2 or 3 years in college sports, and he stayed at Boise State and he got them into the college football playoffs. So I think that's very commendable. I think I hope he didn't lose his draft status. I don't think so. Some people might think he did because obviously NFL defenses are going to be very good, just like Penn State's defense, even better. And some people might think he gets stuffed, but that happens to any running back. I mean, the great Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, there's some games where they just get stuffed. I mean, I think Jeanty's going to have a great NFL career, and I think it'd be crazy if NFL teams don't try to take him in the first round, is what I'm trying to say. I still think he's a very high first round draft pick. At least I hope so, because he deserves it. Let me go over Penn State stats. Kind of rambling on about Jeanty, but that was the main focus point of this game was what Jeanty would do. But let's go over Penn State stats. Allar, Penn State's quarterback, 13 out of 25, 171 yards, 3 TDs. He got to a very fast start in the first quarter. He was like completing like 75 to 8% of his passes, but he finishes the game with just over 50%, 13 out of 25. He really cooled off. That's kind of Allar's problem. He's very inconsistent and very streaky. He improved on that somewhat this year compared to last year. I know he's not a senior, so I know he has at least one more year at Penn State, and that'll be something he needs to improve on, is just being more consistent throughout an entire game. And this showed up again in the semifinals game we'll go over later on the show. Both of Penn State's running backs just went off on Boise State. Boise State could not handle Penn State's running backs. Penn State's obviously a very big physical Big Ten team, and it showed in this game. Allen had 17 carries for 134 yards, and Singleton had 12 carries for 87 yards, one TD, and their great tight end slash fullback, a multifaceted guy. Warren had 6 receptions, 63 yards, and 2 TDs. He's a beast. But all right, next game, Texas, Arizona State. Finals, Texas wins in overtime 39-31. The final score at the end of regulation was 24-24. This game, Arizona State absolutely dominated the stats. I didn't see this game live, but I only have the stats, but I'm telling you, Texas gets off to a fast start. They're up 14-0 in the blink of an eye in the first 2 possessions of the game. And I mean, they scored in a couple of plays on these possessions. I mean, they didn't have these long drives. I mean, they just start off like gangbusters. I mean, this looked like it's going to be another blowout game. But again, Arizona State settles down, though. The score is 17-3 at halftime. So Texas is still very much in control. But the second half, Arizona State just dominated the ball. They had the ball almost the whole entire second half. I mean, I'm gonna go over the stats for how long Arizona State had this ball. Man, Arizona State had possession 37 minutes and 54 seconds of the game compared to Texas only having the possession for 22 minutes and 6 seconds. So Arizona State dominated the game stats wise, but the most important stat is the score. So Texas basically survived this game and found a way to win in overtime. But stats wise, I mean, Arizona State just absolutely dominated, especially second half, like I said already. They had 29 first downs compared to Texas having 17 first downs. They were 10 out of 24 on third down, almost 50%. They were converting third downs a lot. Texas was 5 out of 13 on third down, which isn't bad themselves, but 10 out of 24 is just insane. Scatabo goes off. That running back for Arizona State, he's very underrated. He runs hard, just like Jeanty. He's big like Jeanty. He may not be quite as fast, but I'm telling you, he's big and he can get some yards. And he has heart, man. He rushed the ball for 30 carries himself, but he had 143 yards compared to Jeanty only having 104. So 30 carries, 143 yards. He was also the leading receiver, 8 receptions, 99 yards. So he has a total of 242 yards of total offense between receiving and rushing. Arizona State's quarterback, Levitt, was 24 out of 46, 222 yards, 1 interception. So they also threw the ball a lot. So they had a lot of plays, man. A lot of plays. I mean, the Arizona State quarterback threw the ball 46 times. Let's go over Texas's stats. Ewers, obviously a quarterback going into the NFL draft, here pretty soon. He had a good game stats wise. He was 20 out of 30, 320 yards, so over 300-yard passing game, 3 TDs and 1 interception. So he had a pretty good game stats wise. Texas did absolutely nothing in the running game. That was kind of surprising. I didn't, because most original Pac-12 teams like Arizona State, I didn't think a lot of people don't respect their defense, but they shut down the run though. Texas leading rusher rushed the ball 18 carries for 45 yards. That's only like a little over 2 years. That's like what, like 2.5 yards a carry. I mean, they shut them down running wise. But Texas receiver Golden had a big game, 7 receptions, 149 yards, 1 TD. So yeah, that stat like again, I've already said this several times, but stats wise, Arizona State dominated this game, but but Texas won it. Texas found a way to survive this game. Obviously, what helped them out was they got up to a fast start and had a big lead, and Arizona State was able to tie it, but Texas came away, with the win in overtime. So good on Texas for that, but yeah, it's like they played good for 1 quarter, another 3 quarters. They didn't do so much, but they held on their defense. The next game, the one that I said in the opening of the show, which was surprising, Ohio State just kicks Oregon's butt in a Rose Bowl, 41-21. I was watching a game with a friend, and I thought this would be the best. I thought would be the best quarterfinals game. This was a big rematch between earlier in the season when Oregon won by 1 point. I think it was like 32-31, something like that. But it was a very close game. And a lot of people were expecting the same thing in this rematch. Everyone was looking for this to be a great game. Like I said, I think this is everyone. Like I said, I think this is the biggest matchup of all the quarterfinal games, and I'm just surprised Oregon completely laid an egg. Especially offensively. I mean, I thought this was going to be a shootout and both teams would score a lot of points. I thought Oregon would be able to do a lot more offense than what they did. Yeah, the score was 34-6 at halftime. I mean, it was 34-0 at one point, but Oregon scored a touchdown right before the half. Actually, it might have been 34-8. I think they got the 2 point conversion. I apologize. They got the 2 point conversion. It was 34-8 at halftime, but this game was just a blowout. Oregon did get the ball first to start the second half, and they went down the field and got another touchdown. They didn't get a 2 point conversion this time, but they did make it 34-14. And obviously, Ohio State still has a 20-point lead, still very much in control. But Oregon kind of had a small window of opportunity because there's still a long ways to go. They have a high-powered offense, and Ohio State went 3-and-out, and Oregon got the ball right back. So I'm like, ooh, it's 34-14, middle of third quarter. If they can, I'm telling my friend I went to watch this game with him. I'm like, if Oregon can make this, 34-21, we might have a game going into the fourth quarter. But they did not, do anything. I think they got like one first down on their next drive, and then Ohio State's defense made their adjustments and they shut them down and they punted the ball back, and then Ohio State goes up, 41-14. Like so, the final score was 41-21. So yeah, this game was very disappointing. But let's go over some stats. Will Howard, 17 out of 26, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. That was big. He had no interceptions. Henderson, the running back, 8 carries, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns. And the biggest thing I forgot to mention was this freshman wide receiver for Ohio State absolutely torched them, especially in the first half, which got them off to the big lead. Smith, 7 receptions, 187 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And like I said, both touchdowns came in the first half. Ohio State off to a very fast start. This kid is a true freshman. Can you imagine this guy playing high school football the year before? He's doing this at major D1 college. I mean, a power Ohio State, a power conference, a Big Ten team. He's putting up numbers like this. It's scary to see what he was doing in high school a couple of years ago, man. Especially last year, his senior year. Like, it's just insane. Because, man, he looks really good playing against a bunch of juniors and seniors in college, and this kid's 18 years old, man. Yeah, just absolutely insane, man. That kid going to go a long ways. Hopefully he stays healthy, knock on some wood for him. But, yeah, man, he's impressive. Just like Alabama receiver, true freshman, the same way. But this guy, I think, was a little more consistent than the Alabama freshman receiver, because Alabama receiver freshman is still very good. But I think he tailed off a little bit, but this guy has been pretty consistent all year long, and he showed out in a college football playoff game. So he's very relevant right now. Wow, let's go over Oregon stats. These stats are a little bit misleading. These stats look good, but this game was a blowout. Dylan Gabriel, 29 out of 41. 299 yards, so 1 yard shy of 300-yard game himself. Like I said, it's very misleading. I think a lot of this came in the second half when they're trying to come back, and they couldn't, obviously. Their running back did nothing. James, 7 carries, 14 yards. Ohio State just stuffed them the running, and that definitely hurt them throughout the whole entire game. I mean, they got one-dimensional on offense. Holden had a good game. Like I said, 7 receptions, the receiver, 7 receptions, 116 yards, 2 TDs. Good game personally wise, like individual stats, but obviously the scoreboard, shows something different. The next game was delayed, the Sugar Bowl, because of what happened in New Orleans on New Year's morning. The tragedy with this guy, running down people in uh, I can't remember the name of the place, but it's famous in New Orleans. I apologize. I'm losing my train of thought. But basically, where Mardi Gras is held, Bourbon Street, or wherever it's called. Some guy just ran over like a bunch of people, killed 15, I think, and injured like 30 or 40 more. Absolutely insane. So they delayed the Sugar Bowl because they're supposed to play that night, and of course they did not respect the victims and their families. So they played the next day. Um, I don't have the stats, but was a very defensive game. But Notre Dame won the game 23-10. But this was very defensive. Both defenses played well. Notre Dame, you know, edged them out. Notre Dame's quarterback is playing really well right now on running and throwing. He's a two-headed monster. Um, you gotta give Notre Dame coach a lot of credit. He's not in his first year, but he's still pretty early into his coaching career at Notre Dame. He's got them into I'll cover this later, but he won the semifinal game also, so he's got them into the championship game, first Notre Dame's first championship game I think since 2013. So good on him for that. But yeah, I predicted. I actually go back to my previous show with my best friend Monty. I predicted Notre Dame to win. I was questioning if Georgia's second string backup quarterback could beat a team with a very good defense in Notre Dame, and his stats weren't bad. I looked at his stats; his stats weren't bad, but yeah, but no, Georgia's this isn't quite the same team that they were the past 3 or 4 years, just like Alabama isn't either. And that's kind of like how I sum up the SEC in general is obviously still a very good conference. I won't disrespect them. They've been the top conference for like 15, 20 years. I mean, they won a lot of national championships, especially Alabama, and Georgia's had a couple recently. Um, but teams have caught up with the SEC, and that's why I predicted Notre Dame to win this game because I didn't feel like Georgia was as good as they've been in the past when they had their back-to-back national championships a couple of years ago, and just the whole entire SEC conference as a whole. Still very good, still very competitive, but other conferences caught up, like the Big Ten and so on and so forth. So yeah, I'm not surprised that Texas was the only remaining SEC team in the semifinals, and they lost too. So now there's no SEC teams left in the quarterfinals. I mean, in the college football playoff. I apologize, belay my last. But now the semifinal games. I didn't write them down, so I lost my train of thought a little bit. I knew I was forgetting something before I started the show. I was writing down notes and everything, and I was writing down all the stats of the quarterfinals games, but I forgot to write down the stats of the semifinal games. But these games were both pretty good, both pretty close. I won't go over stats, but I'll just talk about the games a little bit. The first game almost went to overtime. The Penn State Notre Dame game, the final score was 27-24. This game was back and forth the whole entire way from what I could see. So this was a very good semifinals game. And the semifinals games last year were very good. Both of them came down to the wire. So this first game was like that. Penn State's quarterback, Allar, I'm sorry, he threw from what I understand, I didn't see the game live because I was doing some basketball games as a referee, but he throws a late pick, which sets up Penn State for the game-winning field goal. So that's unfortunate for him. So yeah, he threw a late pick, which unfortunately set up the game-winning field goal for Notre Dame. Obviously, Allar is going to take a lot of the blame for that. But the way I look at it, and just like I told my dad, is yeah, everyone's going to think about how they lost the game, and everyone's going to think about Allar throwing a late pick, which is understandable because we don't think about all the good things. We always think about bad things. The bad things always stick out to us compared to all the good things they've done previously. Point being is it's a 60-minute game. You have offense, you have 11 players on offense, 11 players on defense, and there's other plays throughout this game that could change the game, is what I'm saying. And it's just unfortunate that this young quarterback from Penn State is gonna. He probably feels like he has the weight of the world on his shoulders, throwing this late pick, and the news media and all the sports pundits are talking about him, throwing a late interception to help Notre Dame win this game. Kind of feel bad for him. That is the nature of the beast playing sports. So um, he just needs to have a lot of people in his corner, you know, keep his confidence, believe in himself, just work on his craft, continue to improve going into his next year at Penn State. That's the only thing he can do is hopefully he can shut out all the negative noise. Obviously, he's a very talented young man, playing starting at quarterback at a team like Penn State, in a power conference in the Big Ten. So obviously he's got the talent. It's just about him putting together to be more consistent. Like I said earlier in the show, the last couple of years he's been very inconsistent. Where he'll be hot, then he just gets ice cold. So that's the biggest thing I think Allar needs to work on, is this, figuring out a way how to be more consistent throughout a game with the ups and downs of a 60-minute game. But the talent is there. So I'm not a Penn State fan, but as a sports fan, it's kind of rooting for him to kind of bounce back next year and see what Penn State will do. I think Penn State's coach is going to keep his job. I was talking about him potentially being fired because he has a horrible record playing against ranked teams as a Penn State head coach the past 8, 9, 10 seasons, however long he's been there. But I feel like he answered the call this year, getting to the semifinals game. And he's very close to getting to the national championship game, losing 27-24 on the game-winning field goal. So he almost has Penn State in the championship game. And that would have been the first time since the 80s that they'd done that. So with Joe Paterno. So I think his coaching job is intact now. If he has another good next year and wins some more bowl games, like in the playoffs, or the case may be, he's good to go. So I think Franklin has his job. The next game, which was played last night, again, I couldn't watch it because I'm doing a high school girls JV basketball game. But another good game. Texas loses to Ohio State 28-14. But it was tied 14-14 going into the fourth quarter. So Texas got outscored 14-0 by Ohio State in the fourth quarter. That's the difference in the game right there. And I heard Ewers, just like Allar, threw a late interception when they're down 21-14 trying to tie it. He throws a late interception, and Ohio State's able to ice the game, to win 28-14. So championship game on January 20th is going to be Ohio State and Notre Dame, two Midwest teams, which I like that since I'm originally from the Midwest. I was born in Michigan. Obviously, I hate Ohio State, but Ohio State is a Big Ten team, so I'm kind of rooting from that perspective, kind of in a way. But I won't be upset if Notre Dame wins at all, because I have family that live in Indiana that are very close to Notre Dame. So yeah, my family is not too far away from Notre Dame's campus, so I'm very well aware of Notre Dame, since I have aunts, uncles, cousins in that area. And it'll be Notre Dame's first championship since the '80s, also with Lou Holtz. So very interesting. Ohio State, Ohio State's last championship was in 2014. That was actually the first year of the old playoff system with four teams that we kept for 10 years until this year with the 12 team format. So Ohio State is going back to the championship game after 10 years, and Notre Dame hasn't been there, like I said, since the '80s. Well, I'm sorry, Notre Dame was there. I apologize. Notre Dame was in the championship game in 2013 against Alabama, but they got their butts kicked. But they haven't won a national championship. That's a national championship, since the mid to late '80s, I believe, if I remember correctly. It's been a while, like the great Lou Holtz. So this should be a very good game. Both teams got really good defenses. Um, I think quarterback wise, Ohio State has an advantage. Even though Notre Dame's quarterback is playing very well, I think from a passing perspective, Will Howard is the better passer, but Notre Dame's quarterback can really run though. Notre Dame's quarterback strength is he mixes in the run and the quarterback runs that they like to call for him. He's a very good running quarterback. That's where his strength is. So this game should be interesting. Um, so all the viewers out there, let me know your thoughts. Who do you got win this game, Ohio State or Notre Dame? Yeah, let me know. Leave some comments on my page here. I just hope for it from a sports fan perspective. I just hope for it to be a good game. That's the biggest thing I want. I don't want a blowout. I don't want like a 7-3 game. Obviously I don't mind a good defensive battle, but not 7-3. The offense has got to do a little bit of something in this game, but I don't mind a good defensive game. But the offense got to put up some points to an extent. My early prediction: Ohio State's going to win this. I think Ohio State's going to win it like 20-17. That's my early prediction. I think the Big Ten will win back-to-back national championships, which would do them some well for their conference because that hasn't happened in God knows how long, if ever. So I had to go back way in time for that happening, if it's ever happened. Um, but that's my early prediction. But like I said, let me know your thoughts on that. All right, let's get into the NFL. Flip my page here. Before I get into the wild card weekend, I just want to talk about some things that happened in the last week of the NFL season, Week 18. The big one, we got to talk about the big one first. Mike Evans, Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver, he ties Jerry Rice's record, 11 straight seasons with 1,000 reception yards. I'll say that again, 11 straight seasons with 1,000 reception yards. He ties Jerry Rice's record. Mike Evans is he is obviously easy Hall of Fame. I mean, he tied Jerry Rice. To have your name mixed in with Jerry Rice, that's Hall of Fame. Uh, what the crazy thing is he did this at the last play at the end of the game. You know, Tampa Bay gets the ball back. They could have just took a knee. Some people might think it's a sportsmanlike. Most people I think don't, but some people might think so because the game is over. But Tampa Bay gets the ball back with like 35 seconds to go, something like that, 35, 40 seconds, and they could just knee it. But Mike Evans was so close. He needed 5 reception yards. That's why they did it. If he was like 15, 20, 25 yards away, I think they just need it, and he just doesn't get it. And, he just has 10 straight seasons with 1,000 reception yards. But you had to do it. I completely understand. Like, you were too close, to not do this, at least not to attempt it. Obviously, the risk is throwing a pick six. So you have to have a safe play call, which they did. The play design was really good. He gets, 7 yards, and he needed 5. Because it was like an 8-point game. New Orleans would need a touchdown and 2-point conversion to tie it to get into overtime. But thank goodness that didn't happen. Mike Evans he caught the ball. Like I said, very good play call, very good design. He was wide open, and he got his 7 yards. So happy for Mike Evans. He was obviously very happy, very excited. The only thing that people might say about him is he didn't stay on the field to shake hands after the end of the game. I've watched Mike Evans a lot, and he's very much a team player. Even Tom Brady was talking about it during this as the broadcaster for that game. Obviously, playing with Mike Evans for a couple years at the end of his career, getting a Super Bowl with Mike Evans in Tampa Bay. Tom Brady's last Super Bowl. I've seen him shake hands after many of games. So I don't think Mike Evans has a bad attitude. I just think he was so emotional, so hyped up. I think he was just so charged up. He just ran out the field. I think his emotions were just going wild, and I think that's why he ran out the field. Some people might say why he didn't stay after the game to shake hands with the New Orleans Saints players and let them congratulate him. But I'll give Mike Evans the benefit of the doubt, and And like I said, even before Mike Evans did this, Tom Brady was saying like Mike Evans has always been a team guy, and if he doesn't break Jerry Rice's record, he's not going to care. I mean, I won't say won't care, but but he knows winning the game is more important, and his teammates are more important, like Tom Brady was saying. The other cool thing is since Mike Evans was able to do this, he got a $3 million bonus because of doing this. So Baker Mayfield was able to get him three million extra dollars added to his paycheck. So congratulations to Mike Evans. The other big thing is Aaron Rodgers gets he throws three touchdown passes, but his first touchdown pass gets him 500 TDs for his career. He's joined some very elite guys. Um, a couple I know that have it are Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, and there's some other quarterbacks out there, but maybe Brett Favre. But I know Peyton Manning and Drew Brees definitely have this stat. So he joins a very elite club of quarterbacks having 500 touchdown catches. So that's an amazing stat. I'm not quite crazy about Aaron Rodgers the last couple of years. Like I said many times, I was a big fan of Aaron Rodgers in his early years in Green Bay, but the last I would say 3 or 4 years, maybe he's just been kind of a prima donna, man. Just don't like his attitude. Like I don't know about him, man. But the biggest thing about Aaron Rodgers is what's he going to do for the rest of his career? That's my question to the viewers. Is he going to retire? Is he going to go to a new team and try to do something for one more year? He may not. I mean, his last two seasons have been disappointing. Obviously, last year he's 4 plays into the season, gets hurt, season-ending injury, tearing, with his Achilles injury. This year it looked like they might be okay middle of the season. They were kind of like around 3-3 or 3-2 or something. It looked like they might be okay. Then they just tank. So I don't know what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. A lot of people just think he needs to hang it up. I think he might since he got over 500 touchdown, passes. He got what he needed to get from a personal stat wise. So I think he might hang it up. Next subject before we get into NFL wildcard weekend, my picks, my predictions. Coach Mayo is fired in New England after only 1 year. What's your thoughts on that? It's very rare to see a coach fired after only 1 year. You usually give him like 3 or 4 years to kind of see what you can do with the team. Especially New England right now, because since Tom Brady and Belichick have left, it was pretty obvious that they're going to be hurting and they're going to be in rebuilding mode, and that's exactly what they're in. So why would you fire a guy after only 1 year when they're very much in rebuilding mode? I don't feel like that's much of a chance, and I hate to bring race into it. I don't know. I don't know if it has anything to do with race, but there's going to be some people that think that are out there saying, obviously Mayo is a black NFL football coach, and I don't know if that's the reason. I'm not saying that's the reason, but I'm sure some people are bringing it up. I don't know, but the biggest question is why after only 1 year? And it looked like they were kind of getting better with their rookie quarterback, Drake May. He had some good games. It looked like they had something to build off of. They just need to build a good team around him, on the offensive side with some good, with some good receivers, and they already have a good tight end, but they just need to build off this guy, and I don't know, man. So viewers, what's your thoughts on that? I feel like it was unfair. I don't know, I don't. This makes no sense. They weren't. New England was not expected to do anything this year. They had no expectations, so I don't get it. Last subject before NFL wildcard picks. Young Mr. Bryce Young for the Carolina Panthers. He's had a very shaky start in his first 2 years. I personally like the young man, but I'm happy for him that he has a total of 5 TDs in his last game of the season for the Carolina Panthers, and he he gets benched in the middle of the year. Andy Dalton takes over for him for like 3 or 4 games, and he does the Andy Dalton doesn't do anything. And Andy Dalton did get one win right away. People are like, oh my God, he's a big difference. But then he tanked to Carolina. Just does not have a good team. So Bryce Young got his starting position back when Andy Dalton started tanking as well, and Carolina was playing better down the stretch. They were able to get a couple wins with Bryce Young in there, and even in some of their losses, I thought they were playing much better. They weren't getting blown out. They were very much more competitive than what they were early in the season. They're just getting the brakes beat off them like 37-10, you know, 31-3. I mean these games are just absolutely blowouts, but they got better. My problem with Carolina is I don't think they set up Bryce Young for success because if quarterbacks are very unsuccessful early in their career, that can hurt their whole entire career. So I don't think the Carolina, the general manager and all these guys that are involved with building their team, the coach and all these guys, I don't think they've done a good job supporting Bryce Young because, yeah, you want young quarterbacks to try to get off to a good start, and they just don't have a good team around him. It's not Bryce, in my opinion, it's not Bryce's Young's fault. They might say he's overrated. I don't think so. I just don't think he has anyone to go to. Thielen is a good receiver, but he's not in his prime anymore. Thielen is a very good veteran wide receiver, but he is not in his prime. That's pretty much his only target he can go to, and he's close to retirement. He's had a very good career. I like Thielen a lot, but he's not the same guy he was like 5 years back when he was playing with the Minnesota Vikings. So they need to build a better team around Bryce Young. Carolina Panthers, you guys should do better for this young quarterback you chose in the draft. He was the number one pick, I believe. That's a lot of pressure on him. Number one, number two pick, something like that. A lot of pressure on this young guy. You got to do better supporting him. Um, Now let's get into the wild card games. Finally, uh, Chargers at Texans. Jim Harbaugh, ex-Michigan coach, has had a very good year with the Chargers. He wins everywhere he goes. Um, Chargers quarterback, I don't think has a playoff win yet in his career. The old Oregon Duck quarterback, Justin Herbert. This is a big game. Obviously, the Texans, surprised everyone last year. Um, CJ, no one expected this. Everyone expected, Cleveland would just beat the Houston Texans very easily in the wild card game last year, and CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans shocked the world, and they beat, you know, they upset Cleveland Browns, who had a very good year last year. So very interesting. Texans didn't really finish the season well. They got the fast start in the first 8 games. The last 8, 9 games they struggled, very up and down. CJ Stroud very up and down the last 7, 8 games. But they are playing at Houston. Um, Justin Herbert's is not as he doesn't have. I don't think he's been in a playoff game. Um, so we don't know how the Houston sorry, we don't know how the Chargers are going to be in this game. Obviously, Houston isn't firing on all cylinders, but I like Houston's head coach. They're playing in Houston. I like D'Amico Ryans a lot. I got Houston in this game, but I would not be surprised if the Chargers Harbaugh can win this. I would not be surprised, but I'll pick Houston the home team just because I think they have slightly a little more experience being in the playoffs last year. Both teams have great head coaches. Um, both teams have very good young quarterbacks, good receivers. Both teams have good defenses. This should be a good game, but I'd have the Texans edging them out. I think it's going to be like a 24-20 kind of game. Um, Steelers at Ravens. Steelers have lost 4 games in a row. Russell Wilson got off to a great start after replacing, the other Ohio State quarterback. The guy that played right before C.J. Stroud. I got his name on tip of my tongue. Can't think of it. I thought he was doing a decent job, the old Chicago Bears quarterback, and he was 4-2 himself before he got replaced. But Coach Mike Tomlin wanted to see what you know, that Russell Wilson could do. And Russell Wilson got off to a fast start. I mean, Pittsburgh Steelers were 10-3. It looked like, I mean, they were playing great football, but now all of a sudden their offense has just fallen apart. They lost 4 games in a row going into this game. Ravens are playing some good football right now. I got the Ravens. This is a very easy pick. I mean, anything can happen. It is the NFL any given Saturday, Sunday, whatever you want to call it. But this is the easier choice out of the two Saturday games. I got Ravens winning. Um, I really like Mike Tomlin as a head coach, but they have not won a playoff game in a while. I think they've lost like 3 or 4 in a row. Their last playoff win was like, I think like 2019 or 18 or something. It's been a while. I mean, they've been losing a lot of playoff games and they're losing right now. So I predict Steelers to lose again and have a very early exit out of the playoffs. So I hope this game is close. Steelers got good defense, but if their offense keeps on going 3-and-out, they're just going to get tired. And I think Ravens are going to win big. This could be a 2 or 3 score game. It might be like a 31-10 game, 27-10, something like that. So that's why I got Ravens. Sunday's game's much more interesting in my opinion. Broncos at the Bills. Young Bo Nix playing well. Surprised everyone out of the rookie quarterbacks. Obviously, he's got a huge challenge playing in Buffalo. Um, Josh Allen is good in wild card games. Josh Allen's biggest question is, can he win a division round game? He has not won a division round game, just like Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott. But Josh Allen, like I said, has had a very good wild card record, and he has been able to get the Buffalo Bills to a lot more divisional round games compared to Dak Prescott for the Dallas Cowboys. But I predict Josh Allen will get another wild card win to his record. But the question for him is, like I said, can he win the division round game to get them to the AFC Championship game? He had a golden opportunity a couple years ago against KC, and we all know about the famous 13 seconds where their defense let them get in field goal range with 13 seconds left, and they lose by a game-winning field goal to KC. Absolutely crazy. Of course, KC goes on to win the freaking Super Bowl. So, Bills, you got to figure that out. You got to figure out how to win the division round game. But I predict the Bills to win, but I don't think it's gonna be a blowout. I think Broncos will play. Broncos got a very good defense themselves, so I think they're gonna stay in the game for a while. But I expect the Bills to pull away in the second half. Um, I expect it to be like a 27-17, 27-14 kind of game. Packers at Eagles. Packers shocked the world last year. The first team, number 7 seed to beat a number 2 seed at home. They're number 7 seed again this year, I believe. Um, Packers have a very dangerous team. I don't know if they can do it 2 years in a row, but they are very good. But their Achilles heel is they can't beat they played probably arguably the best division of football this year, the NFC North. They couldn't get past Detroit and Minnesota. Both teams that have Minnesota is 14-3, Detroit is 15-2. So very dominant teams in the NFL. They just couldn't get past those teams, and they also lost to Philadelphia Eagles, another very good team. So that's the Achilles heel for the Packers is they can't beat elite teams, and if you want to go all the way, you have to be able to beat elite teams. Um, and they're playing against the Eagles again, an elite team. I would love to see I would absolutely love to see the Packers upset the Eagles because I hate the Eagles, but I do not think that'll happen. Eagles will get to the divisional round. Eagles will win this game. I expect. I think Jordan Love and their running back, the running back that came from the Raiders, I think they'll play well. That running back for Green Bay, man, coming from Raiders, man, he's had an amazing year. He's everything for their team. I think he'll have a good game. I think this game will stay close for a while, but I expect the Eagles to pull it out, though. I don't know if I already predicted the score, but it could stay close. I think it's 27-17 Eagles. Um, Commanders at Bucks. Obviously, a rematch from week one. Week one, Bucks win easily. I think they won 37-20. Obviously, Jaden Downs has had a very good rookie year. He's the runaway for the offensive rookie of the year. Even though Bo Nix has had a very good season himself, Jaden Daniels has this, so I believe. Bo Nix is giving them a run, getting the Denver Broncos to the playoffs themselves, but I think Jaden Daniels has a little bit more. Um, Commanders have improved from week one. It should be interesting, but I'm gonna go with the Bucks though. I really like what Baker Mayfield has done with Tampa Bay. Um, there should be an interesting matchup with the Commanders' defensive back Lattimore and Mike Evans. They absolutely hate each other. They've been into fights on the field. This is going to, yeah, they're going to be going at it again this game. So watch that matchup. Mike Evans and Lattimore, the defensive back for for Washington Commanders. He used to play for the New Orleans Saints, and he got traded to the Commanders this year. And yeah, him and Mike Evans absolutely cannot stand each other, and they're going to be matched up all day long. So that's going to be the biggest focus point is right there. So how well Mike Evans plays is going to determine a lot, or how well um, Lattimore can stop, Mike Evans. Big factor in the game. I think the Bucks squeaked this out though. I wouldn't be surprised if the Commanders couldn't pull off an upset. They got the talent, but this is the first time in the playoffs in quite some time. I mean, they've been the doormat of the NFC East for a long time, and obviously it's great. It's great to see them back in the playoffs, But I think Bucks were in the playoffs last year, and they're returning to the playoffs this year. I think that gives them a slight edge. So I'll pick the home team to win this game, but I think it's gonna be close. I think it's going to be like a 27-20, 27-24 kind of game. I think it's going to be a one-score game, but I think Bucks win in a nail biter. Um, Vikings at Rams. This is more interesting than what people think. The crazy thing is Vikings win 14 games, but they're the 5 seed in the playoffs because of how the NFC North was this year. Like I said, they're the best team in the NFL. They're the best division in the NFL, and they win 14 games, and they're a 5 seed, and they're playing road games in the playoffs. Sam Darnold did not look good. He's had a great season, a great comeback season after being really good at the Jets. I mean, after being bad with the Jets, a very bad team. It's just amazing to see when you switch teams and the grass is greener on the other side and what he can do on a good team compared to being on a horrible team, the New York Jets, horrible organization. Um, so, but he did not play good against Detroit. Um, I think he could play better. I think he'll have a balance. I do think he'll have a bounce back game against the Rams. I don't know how far Sam Darnold can take the Minnesota Vikings in the playoffs. They have not had hardly any playoff success in a while. Kirk Cousins couldn't get done in Minnesota the whole entire time he was there. So Vikings have very little playoff success in the past, several years. Case Keenum got them to the NFC Championship game though, and they thought, God, I just said his name. I don't know why I can't lose my train of thought, but they thought the other guy, God, I can't forget his name, but they thought he'd be able to get it done. He just did not. So Minnesota has just no success. Um, but I expect them to win at least one game. I really like Rams head coach. I like their quarterback. Um, Obviously, they have two very good receivers, Cooper Kupp and the rookie receiver Nakua. Nakua, the straight beast mode. Either a rookie or in his second year, one of the two. But I know he's a very young receiver. Nakua is this absolute beast. Um, but Matthew Stafford, like I said, I really like the quarterback. I think they'll keep the game close, but I think Minnesota has. I mean, they won 14 games, so I think Minnesota. This is the one away team I'll pick up. Minnesota has the ability to win one playoff game. I just don't know if they can win more than one. So I expect, and this is the Monday night game for the wild card weekend. I expect Minnesota to squeak this one out. But the Rams win, like I said, not surprised because Sean McVay is a great coach. But I think the Vikings got one playoff win in them. I think it's gonna be very close though. I expect I think it's gonna be a little bit. I think it's gonna be like a higher scoring game. I expect 30-27 Vikings. Um, it's been kind of a long show. I apologize, been dragging on, but viewers, fans out there, let me know your thoughts on the NFL wildcard games, who your predictions are, who you think will win. Let me know what you think about the show in general. What do you think about the college football playoffs? Who do you think is going to win the national championship game on January 20th with Notre Dame and Ohio State? Um, if you got any ideas for this show, please let me know because I'm always interested in ideas of how to make this show better. So let me know. But other than that, thank you for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll be back. Hopefully, me and Monty will be back. Get some more people on the show besides me, not going solo for next week for the divisional round. But have a good weekend and take care. God bless.